imagine that you have a room full of PhD students. And these PhD students are very knowledgeable in many topics like physics, biology, literature, and so on. But, and they can give you very knowledgeable answers as if they know the entire internet, as if they have read everything. But they are very young, they're inexperienced. And from time to time you have to slap them a little bit, ground them, and tell them it's not good. So we are going to talk about ChatGPT and other generative AI applications. A few words about me. I'm Lesnevski. I'm a senior PHP developer and Melon part of Kin and Carter. And I'm also an enthusiast of cutting-edge technologies like they said, virtual reality, artificial intelligence. So let's start with what is actually ChatGPT. So let's say that ChatGPT is actually a thing that is called a language model. And this language model is, I think, a very big thing that uses machine learning, deep learning, and so on, in order to give you the possibility to interact with the computer in a natural way. And it somehow simulates that the computer is a human, and you can ask him questions, and the computer will answer you. So this GPT thing actually stands for generative pre-trained transformer. And this is the name given by OpenAI, a big company that actually develops it for a few years. And it has now become the very big buzz in the tech industry. So this ChatGPT is actually part of a bigger thing that is called generative AI. So in fact, let's say that one of the first form of AI was an AI that actually distinguished things, like an AI that can distinguish image with cats. So they have trained an AI with millions of images with cats, and it can say whether on a picture you can see a cat or this is not a cat. And this gives you an answer. This is a cat, this is not a cat. The generative AI is something a little bit different, where actually it generates new content never seen before. So in fact, this is a thing that you give him some input. It has a very big network of information, which is pre-trained and so on. And it actually gives you something new generated content. That is based on the thing that the model has learned already in his database. So this ChatGPT, the current versions are 3.5, which is free, and 4.0, which is paid, and it is the better version right now and the most advanced. Just a few words about OpenAI. So OpenAI is an American artificial intelligence research firm. Let's say that it was founded in 2015, so it actually took years to actually develop it until it exploded, and as you see now, everybody talks about it. They have been founded by many interesting people. One of these is Elon Musk, which was a founder of OpenAI, but then actually quit the company to pursue his Tesla adventures, and now he's not part of it and somehow criticized it even. ChatGPT exploded in a way which is a little bit extraordinary, in the way that it grew much faster than any social network, and we know that social networks are the most popular things around. So ChatGPT took only 2 months to reach 100 million monthly users. So it was really very, very fast. So let's talk about how ChatGPT was trained. So in fact, ChatGPT is a model which is trained by the help of the humans. So you cannot just give him a lot of information. You should actually guide him in order for him to understand which responses are actually valid and truthful, and which responses are not good and not truthful. It cannot understand right from wrong. So the process that OpenAI used here to train it, they have called it reinforcement learning from human feedback. So this method actually involves many people, assistants who, first of all, have written not only answers, but also questions. So the operators write questions and answers, and it learns from them. And then, as the time goes by, it can actually run by itself. And actually, it has scanned, in the last version, 570 gigabytes of data, which was taken from the internet and books. ChatGPT 4 is the last version of it. It was unveiled March 14th, 2023. And it is let's imagine that it is an incredibly big neural network which has 175 billion parameters. Now it runs quite fast and receives 10 million queries per day. And yes, here we have mentioned that it has somehow read a very big corpus of data, which was taken from the internet and books and stuff. And ChatGPT, OpenAI claims that ChatGPT, they have tried to reduce the most frequent problems that occur with it, and this problem is called a hallucination. So in fact, ChatGPT has a very big neural network and tries to give you the answer of your question. And sometimes it can somehow imagine that something is true and present it in a very convincing way. It is very convinced that something is true, which is not, because its neural network somehow went this path, and somehow it went to a path which is not true. And it cannot actually distinguish truth from not truth. It only bases this on the things that he has. Let's mention other generative AI tools. So GitHub Copilot actually uses technology from GPT-3. This is a sort of an AI pair programming tool. And you know what it is, autocomplete. It has existed for many decades. Autocomplete when you write code means that you start writing something and it gives you some sort of a possible completion, and you can accept this completion by tapping the tabular key. Here this is improved by generative AI and ChatGPT, that in fact it can actually write you a whole bunch of code that it believes is the continuation of the code that you have started. And sometimes it reads the code that is already in your code base to actually understand what it is that you want. And second of all, if you write comments in your code, it is very beneficial for it because it actually reads these comments, and it is a language-based tool. Gonna read the comment and gonna try to understand what you are actually trying to achieve, and gonna try to generate you the code that you want. So you obtain an autocomplete there, and you can accept it or not accept it, and use it however you want. Other generative AI that was developed by OpenAI and also a Midjourney company is the image generative AI. So let's say that it is possible to train a neural network with millions of images from the internet, and also textual descriptions of these images in such a way that if you run it in some mode, in a reverse mode, or from text to image, let's say, you can actually give this model some sort of text description for what you want to achieve, and it will go through the incredible number of images that it can scan and try to generate you an image that actually corresponds to the description that we have given. So DALL-E 2 is one of the tools here, which is developed also by OpenAI, and Midjourney is very interesting tool developed by a separate company, which is also called Midjourney. Let's say with that we want to use ChatGPT in something that we want to achieve. So here we should follow this sort of diagram or scheme because ChatGPT is a tool that doesn't actually verify that the things that it has given to us are true or false. And it cannot do this, it cannot verify. So when we want to try to use it, we should ask ourselves the question, does it matter if the output is true? And sometimes it doesn't matter if we say it, create me a poem, make me something, make me a text about this topic. And it will create a text. But if there is some crucial importance there, that the things that is going to generate are true or false or valid in some other way, it is very much advisable that we are also very well knowledgeable on the field. So for example, if we want him to generate a program, it is better for us to also be a programmer, and so when we see the result, actually to be able to verify that the thing that it has given to us is valid and works the way we want. Let's take a look at the ChatGPT user interface. This is actually a site, a website which looks like this, and you can have one or more conversations that you can see on the left. So in this conversation, you either use the ChatGPT 3.5 model, the older one, or the ChatGPT 4 model, which is the best one. You ask ChatGPT a question, you wait a little, and you obtain an answer. You can actually regenerate an answer, and you will obtain in each and every time a different answer. And this is quite interesting. You can also regenerate your question, and in this way collect different variants of your question and also the answer of it. And this is the user interface. And let's say that this is very important actually, how you ask your questions, ChatGPT. If you ask your questions in the wrong way, it is guaranteed that you are going to obtain the wrong answer. So ChatGPT is some software that actually can take the role of a person, and then the answer will depend on the role that it has taken. So for example, if you want him to write a program, you can say you're a software developer in this language and you write me a program. If you want him to be your tourist guide and guide you, you will say that he is such a such person, and it will be playing this role. Second of all, it is very important to give it a context. So the more context you give it, it will use it to actually make the answer more correct and more on point with what it is that you want to achieve. It cannot actually guess what it is that you want, so it is based on the context. It is important to know that you can actually say, ChatGPT, what is the format that you want the answer to be. So for example, if you want a list of 5 things, you will say, I want a list of 5 things. If you want some sort of a table or some sort of a text, you can say what it is the text, what is the length of the text, and so on and so forth. You can say who is going to be the reader of the text, because it can actually adjust his style. So for example, if I say, explain me as I'm a 5-year-old child, it will try to explain the thing in a very simple terms. And this is quite interesting to test. After obtaining an answer, it actually remembers it. And if you say it, this answer is good, but I want it in some other way, I want an improved version of this answer, you can say it, and it remembers the context. Okay. Let's say that we want him to be a tourist guide and give us the best restaurant in Skopje. So we say, here you are a tourist guide from Skopje, I'd like to present 3 best restaurants in town. And it can give it to us, and then we can say, okay, but I would like Japanese cuisine, and it will refine its response. Okay, While experimenting with ChatGPT, I actually decided to try to make him an interview as if he is a senior PHP developer that actually is a candidate for our firm. So while examining this, I have seen that if you give him some sort of a question that is easily findable in Google, on internet, it can respond really very well as a human and very well trained human, and even with good examples. Oh, this is not a problem for him at all. If you give him a simple algorithmic task, it can actually write the code for this, and the code actually works. This is not a problem. Okay. If you give him a hint about the task for it to write a better code, it will remember the thing that you have talked about, and it will improve the code that you have written. And here the warning is, if you actually ask him a more complex task, it is possible that ChatGPT doesn't understand the task very well, and it can actually generate a wrong code or a code that doesn't actually fit the description. But you can actually tell him, no, I don't want this exactly, I don't want you to sort this array, and it will actually rectify this answer in a further answer of it. Okay, here I just show Copilot and the way it actually generates a function by just seeing the name of the function multiply two matrices. It's going to actually just know that you want this, and it's going to give you. And you can press tabulation and use this code. Okay, and now the more fun and interesting example is actually make ChatGPT generate prompts for Midjourney. So in fact, we can feed ChatGPT all the documentation of Midjourney, which says which terms, which commands you can use to actually generate Midjourney prompts. And let's say that longer prompts give more interesting results because they have more specific things that you actually request from Midjourney, and the pictures are going to be more interesting. So after feeding all the documentation of Midjourney, I then ask ChatGPT, okay, give me Batman as a 5-year-old child. And this is, you see, this is a short one. And I give ChatGPT the possibility to sort of, okay, what can you give me more interesting for Midjourney that I can use? And it actually delivers this, which is much longer thing, which has pop art style illustration, lively, 5-year-old wearing a handcrafted costume as he lives playfully in his vividly colored bedroom. So you can see here that actually you can use different generative AI tools stacked one upon the other to generate more and more interesting content. And here's another example. Let's say that if you give Midjourney something that he doesn't actually know about, you can have not very good results as he has not generated Bulgarian flag quite right and somehow messed up the order of the colors. So it really depends on what you're giving him and what the Midjourney has been trained with. And here it's an example of things that you can achieve by using this approach, images. So let me pass to the issues with generative AI. There are security concerns because you're giving information to a thing that is not very well regulated. Also, it is said that ChatGPT have actually been trained with information that is copyrighted and also private, and it can give you answers, which is based on content which is not very legal to use. So there were problems with this. Also, let's say that many of the text that ChatGPT has actually read are of course biased, and it can replicate this bias because it cannot actually decide what is right or wrong. And the final problem related to generative AI is that people like artists or copywriters are a little bit concerned that you can actually generate images like I have generated for these presentations very easily and with a quite good quality, and without any copyright we can use them. copywriters, people that actually write text are actually concerned because ChatGPT can very easily write you a text about a topic, and software developers maybe, but we will see. And this was my presentation. My questions for you is, what is your opinion on AI evolution?
All right, thank you, Jan, for this definitely very interesting and colorful presentation. Are there any questions generated by the humans in the audience? I see many. Where do we begin? I'll let the people passing the mic just decide. I don't want to have anything to do with it right now.
Thanks. That was a super interesting and super fun presentation, Jan. Thank you. My question would be in a direction like, is ChatGPT learning from end users? In a sense, how important is and crucial is user feedback to it? Like, I'm presuming anybody using ChatGPT, if they get a wrong answer, they will say, no, this is wrong, it's not working, but probably success feedback is also important if it learns from end users. So, thank you.
Yes, very good question. So there are two things about this. Let's say that in general, when you start to talking with ChatGPT, it will remember the context that you have given to him. But this context is completely lost if you start a new conversation. This means that all the things that you're providing to him are not automatically integrated in further searches because the model was trained with some set of data and cannot be just easily trained with other. But you can actually vote the answers, which is the best answer, and there is a voting button there that I didn't have the possibility to explain. And you can actually just vote what is the best answer in your opinion for a question, and they say, the OpenAI folks say that they will use this information to gradually improve it. I hope that this answers your questions.
Thank you for your answer. We already have the second question over there.
Yeah, my question is that you said that AI cannot validate the requests. And we've seen generate AIs to be like generating some inappropriate content. My question is that where will be like improvements in validating these requests, or what is going to be like to prevent this type of content to be generated by AIs?
This is really very very hard question because in fact OpenAI has been struggling with this. There is some sort of stop words that ChatGPT would not accept. But because this is a language model that understands human language, people can find many ways to actually circumvent this, telling him to play roles telling him things in such a way that the stopping system cannot actually detect it. So this is an ongoing process, and OpenAI just claims that the last version, ChatGPT 4, somehow improves on it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Excellent answer. I think every time we say, oh, it's inappropriate, or it's sexist, or it's racist, we need to remember that ChatGPT is trained on humans. So a lot of humans were such if the model ended up being that way, right? We had a question, many questions. I don't know, where is the microphone? Yeah, person with the microphone, go on.
Hey. Really great presentation, by the way. I like the theme and the whole look of the presentation. And my question about the security issues of the ChatGPT and AI models right now is, as we have seen in the past, some people use the prompt to crack the morals of the ChatGPT and really got an answer that is illegal and used to cause harm to the society. And then there is a question about is it possible in the future of one ChatGPT model without the morals to hire or control another GPT model and become like a network of illegal and harmful prompts giving to each other and one person to use it for free, basically.
This maybe your first question was already in part answered, and OpenAI just claims that it tries to prevent these problems, but in fact nobody can say what will happen, because these large language models, ChatGPT is not the only one, and the technology becomes more and more available for new people to experiment, and it is hard to prevent people from using large language models in general. We cannot prevent this. OpenAI can battle against problems. Midjourney actually has a stopword system not to generate bad content and so on, but this is on a case-by-case basis. But the technology itself, you cannot actually stop people from using it.
It's a great answer. I want to check, I have trouble seeing the people upstairs because of the lights. Are there any questions from upstairs? Just wanted to make sure that we are also including you. Maybe I'm remembering this two presentations too late. Then we can go on to the questions from downstairs, and this will be the last question we take, but consider this invitation to find Jan during the networking time as when we finish and pick up from there.
Since you said that the information we get can be biased, or maybe it has the wrong data, how can we as users differentiate what is a reality and what is prejudice?
Yeah, very good. I think that I have said in the presentation itself that if you're using ChatGPT, you're using it as a companion and as some sort of an aid about a topic that you are knowledgeable outside of ChatGPT. So in fact, ChatGPT is going to be a facilitator, a guy who writes text for you and solves puzzles and so on and so forth. But the ultimate judge of the output and the ultimate, let's say, moderator is going to be a person for the time being, I think. I hope that this answers your question.
Thank you very much for all your enthusiasm for the questions. Thank you, Jan, for this interesting conversation. That's all from you for now.